Yeah. Okay, we are rolling audio.
Oh, I'm glad that's empty.
Good. Really loud. You're welcome.
Rolling camera 1.
Okay, rolling camera 2. Boom. Rolling camera 3.
All right. What are we calling this, gentlemen?
Climate collaboration number 1.
Take one.
Hello, this is the first of what I and my bank book hope is a series on the climate collaborations going on between various schools here at UC Irvine. A dramatic new thing that they're attempting. Is it dramatic? We'll find out. We're talking today to Doug.
Houston.
Again.
Yeah,
Doug Houston.
yeah, it's actually Houston. I realized
Houston.
I hadn't keyed you into that.
Quick interruption.
Yes.
We've got 3 cameras. Where should we be focusing? Just a little bit of direction.
So it's an interview with Jim.
Okay.
So you're just talking
So we're
to Jim.
focused on Jim. We don't need to look into
all-
the camera,
No.
smile.
Unless you want to.
Okay.
Dramatic urgent message.
Peek over for
It's
that
all
drama.
about me. We can edit that out.
Okay.
But anyway, so Doug Houston.
Houston, like
Houston. I'm
yeah,
getting
like
closer every
like the
time.
street in House,
Yeah.
like the street in New York. So
And
Doug-
you're way over
Doug
there in the
Houston.
School of Ecology, yes?
The School of Social Ecology, yeah, Urban Planning and Public Policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, Dr. J, as you are for short?
That's right.
Okay. And otherwise, you're Jason.
Jason Douglas.
Okay, Douglas.
Yeah.
There, we're making progress already. And you guys are focusing on doing pocket gardens for one thing, all this stuff. Do pocket gardens have a lint problem? I guess not. Okay, but can you explain what they are? Because I picture something really small, but I gather they can be up to like 3 acres or something like that.
Sure. You want to jump in there?
Yeah, that's right. We came together because we're interested in the power of small parks. And pocket parks would be small spaces really embedded within urban communities. They could be often an underutilized lot or underutilized space, vacant lot that's converted to a park. They could be anywhere up to just half an acre to 3 acres, really slotted into the community.
Okay. And even though there's, I guess, one that you're doing in Irvine here, they're mainly intended to go places where people really need them. And can you discuss that a little bit? Like what they
Sure.
can mean to a neighborhood?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, well, with our current, infrastructure,
Yeah.
it can be difficult to bring large-scale parks to
Yeah.
communities, right?
Yeah.
Communities have been planned for quite some time. So pocket parks, they offer a new and innovative way to bring additional green space to communities that obviously would benefit from them. Often spaces that are being reclaimed, for example, a vacant lot that's being underutilized, can be reclaimed as a pocket park for a community to provide space for residents to recreate, to enjoy accessible green space within the community, as well as offer other benefits.
And?
Yeah, we came together because we really want to explore how pocket parks, these small spaces, which could have a lot of different uses, can help address a lot of things. And we're fascinated that they have multiple benefits. For instance, addressing public health, so giving people outdoor spaces that's close to home or where they recreate or work, that has many mental health benefits, but also it helps revitalize underutilized spaces, but also address climate impacts. So and these parks, to the extent to which they have green space, can help lower urban temperatures. Oftentimes they'll have components in the design that help capture rainwater and filter it down into the soil rather than into the gutters. And so we're looking at multiple benefits. We comprised a team that really brings expertise from different schools across campus to look at the different types of benefits that these have.
Okay.
So there are the environmental benefits and also
Yeah.
those that are meant to sort of impact public health, broadly speaking. But I also want to emphasize the mental health benefits of public parks and green spaces, broadly speaking. There are known associations between proximity to green space and mental health, as well as, ready for this, recovery from illness. Yeah, there were actually a series of studies that were launched in the 1960s that showed that just having a view of green space from a hospital window associated with significant improvements in recovery time.
Yeah. UCI seems to be really plugged into that. You know, the new medical buildings that are over that a ways, they're stressing that they've even built like a little plaza where people can look down on the marshlands there. And all this having like a healing effect on people. They're making a big point of that there. I guess it's always better to say marshlands instead of swamp lands, but it is kind of a lovely thing to see from over there. They're really picking up on that. Do you know exactly, are there many studies on what they do for mental health, just having access to those?
Well, to green space, broadly speaking, there's a well-established body of literature, not necessarily for pocket parks, but for green space, yes.
Yeah. Okay, is it just that maybe you come face to face with the unexpected a little bit when there's nature there, as opposed to like housing and everything that man builds, where you just see that trees branch off in their own ways and insects find their way through them, just things like that. Is that a factor?
To some degree. What really drew us to the small spaces, and that's I think a unique component of our collaboration, is that certainly we support more city level regional parks, which have a huge number of benefits, but oftentimes they're farther away from where people live, and they're much harder to build. When we know a lot of our communities need park space, but oftentimes the land can be expensive, and or you don't have it in these large kind of parcels for that scale. So the idea is that pocket parks could be a strategy that cities and community groups could use to advocate for what they need closer to home. And so we feel that these kind of parks could do something in addition that's well beyond what the regional network of parks can provide.
Yeah. Okay. Now I read that I guess pocket parks can encompass like an area of like maybe 3 acres. But how small could they be and still be effective both socially and ecologically?
Well, I think that's one of the questions that we seek to answer, Jim.
Yeah.
You know, the benefits of pocket parks are underexplored. So part of what we're doing is examining the extent to which they can help with to address environmental challenges, for example, water pollution, air quality, urban heat. You know, as Doug mentioned earlier, green spaces can significantly reduce land surface temperatures or urban heat exposure. As a matter of fact, I have a study coming out soon that points specifically to the types of materials that are used within public parks and how they can either sort of exacerbate urban heat or help to address it. You know, for example, many parks that are built with synthetic materials, more blacktop, rubber mats those black rubber mats you find in children's playgrounds can actually increase heat in park spaces significantly.
Okay. And can you discuss the areas that benefit from these most? I gather rich folks could use some greenery in their lives too, but
I would say when we talk to folks about the project, I would say that people from all different types of communities across Orange County are really excited about the work. They think about how can we have this in my community, even if they're, say, a South County, more suburban community with lots of green space and well manicured and maintained neighborhoods with homeowners associations. Residents there need these benefits just as much as other communities. And so that's part of the exciting part, and the challenge of our project is really to understand how we can tailor these spaces to match the needs of the communities themselves. It sounds easy, and it's a goal probably a lot of people can share, but when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's something that really is worthy of study. We can't just assume that a pocket park that's, say, in the community of University Hills here on campus, configured in the same way in Santa Ana or Southeast LA is going to have the same benefits because the community needs are different. The adjacent properties, the connections and corridors that lead into and out of the spaces are different. So that's part of our project is to understand the context, what do communities want, and what are they advocating for to meet their own needs. So in this case, it's not just UCI coming in with a solution, it's really a community-driven vision that we want to embrace and learn from as social scientists, as public health scientists, as ecologists. We really want to kind of flip the script in terms of thinking about what communities need and how can we address climate impacts, public health impacts, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll add to that a little bit, Jim. Yes, I agree. All communities stand to benefit from green spaces. However, it should be noted that underserved communities bear an uneven burden of of inequitable access to green spaces.
Yeah.
It's well established in the research that the amount of green space, the quality of green space in underserved communities, low-income communities, for example, many communities of color, don't have anywhere near as much as more affluent communities. So while all communities stand to benefit, there is an urgency to improve access to green spaces in our underserved communities.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little what you're doing in, that was interesting, in South LA?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working extensively with a number of communities and community-based organizations throughout Los Angeles, South Los Angeles, Southeast Los Angeles, for example. Looking at various contexts in terms of green space needs and access. And all the work that I do is community engaged, right? Specifically, I work in a community-based participatory action research context. So I work in and with underserved communities to identify some of the most challenging social and environmental issues within our communities that are really identified by the residents that I'm working with. And one of those challenges is unequal access to green space, right? Other challenges include, a burden of overexposure to air pollution, high urban heat, as well as a number of other social and environmental challenges. So some of the things that we're doing in Southeast Los Angeles communities, for example, is, we're looking at specifically green space benefits, green space inequities, right? And using that data to drive policies and practices that improve access to green spaces. For example, working directly with community-based organizations such as Communities for a Better Environment, the Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust, right? We use this data to advocate for the improvement and inclusion and development of green spaces in many different communities.
How do you find the people in those communities that can tell you the needs that they have?
Sure. Well, working with my community partners, they have long established relationships with community residents. For example, Communities for a Better Environment, I've been working with them for the last 13 years. And they're the longest running environmental health and justice nonprofit organization in the country. So they've been organizing in California communities for over 40 years. And their reach is extensive. So their community base, it's very easy for us to access residents that are interested in these challenges, that are affected by these challenges, and are passionate about improving access to health promoting resources in their communities.
And Doug?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about how I came to be excited about small park spaces. My training's in urban planning. I did a postdoc in public health and examining near roadway air pollution and who's exposed. So I've thought for a long time about neighborhood quality, air quality, and health. So how do we plan communities in a way that can be more health promotive? But I came to the idea of pocket parks through experience as a young faculty member here at UCI. We had a course of planning students working with residents in Santana. There was a vacant lot, and the city had prioritized affordable housing. And I think a lot of us can really celebrate and support more affordable housing. We're in a housing crisis, and that could have been a good priority. But our students decided to learn more about what residents wanted. And they did door-to-door surveys around the park space, around this vacant lot. And it turns out that the residents that were close by really wanted a park space on this vacant lot, rather than putting up a new structure, multi-story building of housing, even if it was affordable. And so the city listened, and it was really a cooperation of advocacy, bringing it to the city's attention, in cooperation with UCI, identifying priorities, what the space could be, working with the community to really envision it. And so we want to study those processes, and when communities come and advocate for these underutilized spaces, how to transform them in significant ways, and how does the city respond? In which way can they empower communities, enhance the community's effort? So that's one way that UCI has already kind of really been embedded, promoting how to bring in community vision into these spaces. A few years ago, I was also working with, I was conducting a survey of residents along the Santa Ana streetcar route that'll be opening, and hopefully in the next few months. I was talking to residents about their perspectives on the streetcar, and were they concerned about neighborhood change or gentrification. And we were sitting at a cafe, and luckily we had some volunteers from the community. They were part of a group called Vela, largely Spanish-speaking Latinx mothers of children that they had just dropped off at school, and they were helping us collect surveys from the parents. And they looked a little bit urgent. They needed to rush off to a meeting because they pointed to the vacant lot across the street, and they said, we're advocating with the city. And this was all through translation to me in Spanish, that so we're advocating with the city to convert this vacant space into a park. And now it's called Mariposa Park. And it's got a skate park, it's got a small playground area, it's got some green space and trees and shade. So those are the kinds of transformative processes that we're really interested in learning about as models for how communities can identify their needs, and how we as researchers and planners can really support those efforts.
Right. And how far along are the various projects you're working on? And what will it take to complete them, you think, at this point?
So the parks I mentioned are complete. They're in use. There's plenty of YouTube videos of skaters in the skate park, etc. But we're also really interested in the parks that are just now coming to be. So it was interesting, our first collaborative team meeting, Dr. J shared a groundbreaking of a community park in Santa Ana along Bristol corridor that was just happening. And we've since reached out to and recruited Santa Ana Parks and Rec as a partner on this. So we're very interested in the park development that's currently in progress. So not only the planning and conceptualization stage, but putting in the infrastructure, and what does that process look like. Also, one of our partners in University Hills here on campus, that's our faculty and staff housing. It's a community that's, you could say, very suburban. It uses the Irvine kind of green cities design principles. And we have a sustainability committee that's done amazing work. And the committee is one of our key partners. And they've identified a corner lot that right now is grass and has some young oak trees, and they've gotten approval and funding to do a conversion of that vacant space that's just grass now into a native plant garden. And so that actually was one of the sparks that brought us all together as a team, because we said, how can we support your effort? They're doing all the work and all the planning and getting the funding, and they asked us to do community engagement, and I'm like, yes, we can do that. And so our team with undergraduates, so faculty, collaborators, and undergraduates have been at a number of community-wide meetings talking to the community residents about the potential benefits of native plant gardens and the benefits that they want to see implemented. So that's from scratch. We're going to be able to monitor the creation of some gardens as well.
Yeah, on the Los Angeles side of that equation, it's actually a series of interconnected projects that have informed, those upcoming park spaces. For example, I'm leading two NASA-funded research projects where we're using, we're connecting satellite remote sensing technology with ground truthing efforts to really look at some of the green space inequities that the residents we work with experience in their communities. For example, in addition to remote sensing, right, using remote sensing data We're using handheld air quality monitors, laser thermometers to take temperature readings within these different spaces. And part of some of the outcomes from those projects led us to understand that these park spaces that residents seek to use during adverse heat events, for example, are just too hot in their communities. So out of that, we developed a GIS-enabled dashboard that residents can use to help navigate their communities and better understand spaces where that may be unsafe, for example, during adverse heat events. But more interestingly, residents and organizers have been using that tool to advocate for more green spaces in their communities. And using that dashboard, they were able to actually go to funders to direct funding toward the city of Curitiba. Which is one of the cities that we'll be working with in partnership with the Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust in this project. And those park spaces are just being renovated, reclaimed, and all really directed by the vision of community residents who have specified exactly what they want to see in their park spaces and how they want them to be designed.
Why UCI, do you think? Why is all this neat stuff emanating from UCI? I'm sure there's other campuses doing good stuff, but it seems like such a lot of it is coming from here.
Yeah, I think UCI, they're a leader, right? And sort of really thinking, how can we help to advance communities? How can we help to support public health? How can we support to help urban development, right, that benefits all people? For example, in the Wendt School of Population and Public Health, one of our mantras is health equity for all, right? By thinking about how we can investigate the health benefits, the environmental benefits of pocket parks, for example, and identify specifically what are the mechanisms by which these are promoting health and well-being in communities. UCI is pushing forward the fields, the scholarship, the community engagement aspect to ensure that we are moving toward health equity for all, whether it be through built environment modifications, through medical innovation, a number of different fields. And UCI is a leader in this way.
Yeah, I think that the Climate Collaborations Initiative really embodies the strengths that we have at UC Irvine, because it specifically focuses on what we can say cross-campus or cross-school collaborations, and it supports building relationships. We've just newly come together, although we've known each other's work and probably cited each other several times. We hadn't come together with a shared purpose and funding, and so it's really Climate Collaborations is I see it as a generative type of initiative where we are really pulling together the strengths at the core of the values of UC Irvine about cross-discipline collaboration to address society's challenges. So that's really why I was drawn to UCI in the first place, is that type of approach, crossing boundaries and really thinking big was celebrated here.
Yeah. Is collaboration more of a factor in recent times and years than it was in the past? I don't know if you go far enough back at UCI, basically the only time schools got together to collaborate would be on water balloon fights or something, whereas there seems to be a whole lot going on to actually improve the world in various ways. Now, does it seem to be an intentional focus more recently on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly see more interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary research, as we move forward, and I think a lot of that is out of necessity, right? Today's challenges are increasingly complex and can't be solved in a silo. Right. So, for example, looking at urban heat, well, public health won't solve it on its own, neither will urban planning. But when you bring together folks with varying expertise, for example, community engaged environmental health disparities research, public planning, environmental science, you're really improving on your ability to be able to address these challenges, especially by working in community engaged contexts where you have the input, you have the participation, you have folks that are impacted by these real world challenges, right? Helping to drive the research questions, helping to drive the funding, helping to get the data that is needed to address these challenges that we have, and use that data to advocate for equitable policies, equitable access to public parks, for example.
Okay.
One thing about this initiative is that we're not only looking at the power of parks, but we're looking at the powers of partnership. And so being able to have an initiative, a cross-campus initiative that really asks how can we do partnership better with governmental organizations, with nonprofit organizations, with community residents, I think is a really valuable aspect of this initiative, because it takes the power of the science we do here to another level in terms of impact for the community.
Okay. Do the differing perspectives from the different schools you're coming from add up to something more than just counting up the numbers of it? Or something like
Yes, absolutely.
How was that for a
sure.
poorly formed question?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Bringing the different schools and expertise together does kind of add up to kind of a much bigger benefit. It's in some ways our training in our various disciplines and schools are highly specialized. I mean, I understand that it needs to be rigorous. It needs to have established methods, rigorous, trustworthy data that we can defend the findings and generalizations. But sometimes our training gets us so far into silos that it becomes, I would say, dangerous, because we don't really reach our potential. So UCI, in my experience, has really asked us and kind of demanded of us to reach outside of our silos to strengthen our goals, really. So in the case of pocket parks, I would say a study that just looked at the planning processes for pocket parks would be very limited. That we're bringing in expertise from the field of ecology, really starting to change how we understand the benefits and some of the trade-offs of developing these spaces. We get to bring in a whole host of ways of tools from environmental science to measure air pollution and heat. We also get to bring in the social behavioral side of public health as well. And those all have a huge kind of literature and robust set of methods that go with them that I couldn't deploy them on my own. And it comes down to the basic kind of research questions, not just the topic of pocket parks and gardens, but really what are the fundamental questions we're trying to ask and to try to solve, to address the challenges.
Yeah. Since so many universities aren't getting the funding they used to, to help from the outside world, how important do you think it is that the different parts of the universities are helping each other nowadays?
I think the challenges for research are very immense.
Yeah.
One thing that's, I believe, a real strength about the Climate Collaborations Initiative, and in particular our project, is that it has broad appeal. No matter the words or the phrases you use to frame it, those may differ by disciplines, but we all need these spaces, I would argue, that we need to have healthy and vibrant communities. We all think, I believe, fundamentally about public health and how these spaces can function.
Okay. And?
Sure. Well, look, I mean, it's not just in current times, but I mean, it's imperative to have the support of your university, right, to help to form these types of collaborations, provide the funding, the time, and the space, right, for us to help to develop our emerging scholars, for example, to form these collaborations and, develop partnerships and working groups and projects and innovation toward moving toward external funding as well. Right, so I see these projects as more of, internally funded. These are sort of like seed grants that help us to generate new and innovative ideas. Yeah.
Another component I want to jump into, at least to share, because I know it's a big priority for the initiative, would be the educational component. is that educating the next generations of leaders is really central to the initiative, but particularly our projects. So we'll be forming teams of undergraduates who get to learn the nuts and bolts of being part of a research team. So we will have undergrads trained and going out to a series of pocket parks in the 3 study communities to take measurements about heat and water infiltration that could address stormwater runoff and a variety of different, looking at the usage of the park. So there'll be a monitoring team. We'll also have a mapping team that will help us do a rigorous job of entering all of these park spaces into our GIS and analyzing the distribution. So yeah, we have an educational component that's really central to what we do.
Okay, and what would be your answers to the informed questions that never occurred to me to ask you? That should be a broad field by now, I would think.
The informed questions that we want to answer for you.
Yeah, what ideally would you like people to know that never occurred to me about what you folks are up to here? I'm sure there must be something, if not a mountain of them.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Things that we'd like folks to know that we're up to.
Yeah.
Here, this is what I think folks should know, and this is what we need to do. And we've spoken about it a little bit before, but I'm going to reemphasize this is really the community engaged aspect of these projects. Right? One thing that I've always said, I always tell my students, if you want to know what's going on in a community, ask the people that live there, right?
Yeah.
And by asking those questions and providing spaces where we can work with affected residents, we can advance not only the science and the knowledge base, but we can help to improve folks' everyday lives. And if we can even play a small part in that, then these projects, every bit of funding that goes into them, are more than worth it.
Well said.
And that was really good, I have to say, because one of the things we're doing is coming up with like 2-minute TikTok little things to put up along with like the longer piece. So
Take that one to the bank.
So how would you encapsulate what you're up to in 2 minutes or less? There's a lot of competition on TikTok.
No, I don't know if I'm going to hit the TikTok mark, but I can try to add on in this case. I don't know if it's all fully self-contained. Part of our work is also trying to support government agencies and institutions in how to interface with communities, how to bring them into the planning process, because I think overall, when you do that, you're going to have more successful planning, more successful projects that the community is actually firmly invested in and responds to.
Okay.
And I think we want to do that beyond, the place where you're putting community as the face of it and saying, we did this for a community, or we asked them what's up and we addressed it. We are seeking to do this in a way that's truly engaged, right? And, in our partnership with our community partners, while we want to respect their time, right, we also are requesting that they participate at any level that they would like. So if it's consultation and they drive the projects, fantastic. If they want to learn how to use the tools that we're using, fantastic. If they want to teach us, right, how they do their work and how they use tools to address public park inequities, for example, brilliant. If they want to go all the way up to the top of the ladder of participation and develop the research questions with us, run these projects with us, and use that data to advocate for policies that benefit our communities, fantastic. But we want to emphasize that community engagement it's an iterative process. It takes time, but the benefits can be exponential when done correctly.
Great. I'm hoping somewhere down the line we can circle back and actually visit some of the projects you've been working on and see what the result is and talk to communities some. But in the meantime, thanks a lot for filling us in on this. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, good.
And
I can try a little bit of a blurb. I had some notes. maybe the shorter thing. It may be much shorter.
Yeah.
But just to kind of maybe restate a few things. One would be, so we are really very interested in the power of small parks. We believe that even though pocket parks and gardens, they might be relatively small, they can play really an outsized role in addressing some of our challenges. So improving public health, revitalizing underutilized spaces, addressing a lot of climate impact. So that's what's really motivating us. Although they're small spaces, they could really have a big impact when they're scaled up.
Okay. Well, thank you. Should we traipse to your offices or wherever, or some green park or something to kind of get your brief stories on who you are and how you got here?
Just quick question. For this interview, do you want to have like the big introduction? My name is Dr. Doug Houston. I'm from this department. I know we didn't get it for this. It was more sort of like, hey, Dr. J.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do you want to do
Let's
that?
do
Sort of
this
a little
straight,
bit more of a
into the
formal-
camera?
Yeah. That way we don't have to move all this.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you would do it during
Wow.
the
Or
individual
yourself
interview.
application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have those coming up too.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
Do you want to do it in both spaces so you just have it?
yeah,
This one.
sure.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
and,
do both.
yeah, and do you guys want to introduce yourselves one at a time? So we'll take a single of you and a single of you? Let's do that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, and I'm also going to improve.
Just lower.
Yes.
So as they're setting up, we some of the things that we didn't quite talk on much, and I don't know if we have time, was if you wanted to do 10 minutes with Vivi as well. And the parts of the story there would be, if I can just kind of speak for what I'm thinking, would be some of the partnerships and the history that brought us to this, like working with Santa Ana and interviewing stewards of produce gardens. So maybe a couple items, if that's something that would work.
That would be ideal. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not, but
Okay.
it would be nice. But yeah, if you could
I just thought I'd bring it up
context.
since we're here.
Yeah. But we're still rolling, yes?
We are.
Okay. So, Doug, can you tell me how did you arrive here at UCI and what brought you to what you're doing now?
Is that all right? Or I think we're on Dr. J.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to start with Dr. J.
Oh.
Introduce
Hi,
him.
Dr.
Okay.
J. Can you tell us a bit about your life and what brought you to UCI and what the concerns that you have about our happy little planet these days?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to do my introduction at this point? Or?
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Jim. Yes, my name's Dr. Jason Douglas. I'm an associate professor and vice chair in the Department of Health, Society, and Behavior in the Josie Wen School of Population and Public Health. So how did I come to arrive here at UC Irvine? Well, mine's a bit of a long journey. I had held faculty positions prior to coming here. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I held faculty positions prior to coming here, but, I was offered a unique opportunity during UC Irvine's search for new faculty, to really come into their what we call the Black Thriving Initiative, which is a program that was designed to provide a space for students, faculty, researchers, communities to come together to really begin to think about how can we really work with Black communities to move toward thriving, right? And I was particularly interested in coming here for this position as an environmental health disparities researcher to really bring my work with communities, with residents throughout various areas to really advance that initiative and think about, how can we advance Black lives, for example, by improving access to public parks, by addressing, air pollution inequities, urban heat inequities, and really think collaboratively, how can we really advance nature-based solutions to address some of the most pressing social and environmental challenges that we have. And it's really been, my pleasure and my honor to come here and collaborate with folks like Dr. Houston, with Vivi, and other folks in public health and across the university to identify and address these challenges using rigorous science as well as advocacy.
Thank you. Okay, and Doug, you want
you
to
get
fill
it?
us-
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
I don't know if I was in the camera as much as you wanted, but
You were when I grabbed your focus.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we'll snag you and let me
Sure.
do a little adjusting.
Mike's a bit.
This is just so we get really nice audio of you guys individually when we're doing this.
Yeah, sure. So you're here. All right.
How's that?
Why closer?
Oh, I.
Oh, you want me to check the gate?
We can check for the audio test.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure we can focus.
Yeah, double check. Good. Go ahead and talk so we can grab.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can talk. That's fine.
Good.
Sure. You good? All right. Great. Sure. So I'm Doug Houston. I'm professor of urban planning and public policy. I'm trained in the field of urban planning, but I also have a focus in training in public health as my postdoc research. And I look at neighborhood level quality, air quality, livability, and sustainability. So my work, my early work looked at air pollution exposure near roadways across Los Angeles and in the ports of near the ports of I'll just start again on that part. So my early work was looking at and monitoring near roadway air pollution in communities near the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and I expanded that with collaboration of colleagues here at UCI to look at residents and where they spend time in the community of Boyle Heights to understand exposure to air pollution. So it doesn't just happen, of course, at home, but it happens throughout the course of the day. So my research really looks at the intersection of human behavior as people move through urban spaces and communities. So exposure to sources of air pollution, but also urban amenities and park spaces. So can we develop walkable, vibrant communities that also protect people from air pollution exposures? More recently, I've shifted more into more directly studying climate impacts. So I have surveyed residents across Southern California regarding perceptions of wildfire risk and what they have done in their household to take steps to mitigate that risk. Not only if a fire comes their way, near hillsides burn, what happens after the fire when we have a heavy rain and there's potential hazards of mudslides. So I look at people's perceptions of the risk, how have they prepared to understand the behavioral component there. More recently, I've forged partnerships to examine green spaces and pocket parks within cities through community collaboration to really understand some of the barriers and challenges of, for instance, using small spaces to grow produce. So we have interviewed statewide organizers and managers of community produce gardens to understand the benefits they provide to local residents in terms of health and composting and sustainability, but also the challenges, and they are quite substantial. So how can we, from a public policy perspective, really invest in these community-based initiatives? So
That was good. I want to do mine again.
I had to do a reset there in the middle.
I had a better, you gave me a better idea.
Uh-oh.
I need to start a little bit further back. It won't take too long.
No,
Just give
absolutely.
me like 20 minutes.
Let's get.
I'm going to grab water. I'm not on, right?
Yep. Okay. You're on now, but we're gonna switch it up.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about my long strange trip.
Okay, please do.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. Okay,
How am I doing?
Can you ask the question again, just so it's like fresh?
Yeah, you can
Excuse
close
me?
if you want.
Will you ask the question again?
I'd have to remember the question.
No, don't worry
to do
about it.
that.
It's okay.
But,
What
yeah.
is it?
Yes.
Uh, I guess, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to be who you are and how you wound up here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Jim. My name is Dr. Jason Douglas. I'm associate professor and vice chair in the Department of Health, Society, and Behavior in the Josie Wentz School of Population and Public Health. And, I came to UCI, it was a bit of a journey. And, my journey toward, really looking at park equity started during graduate school. And, while I was in graduate school, I was actually on a different trajectory. I was really interested in looking at how nature-based institutions in the urban context could influence young children's relationship with nature. So, in this work, I had this great idea. I said, you know what, let me work with children. I'll find a cohort in an after-school program, and I'll take them to zoos and public parks and community gardens, and use all these psychometrics and really examine how these exposures affect their relationship with nature. Long story short, I was working with a group of children, 10 to 12 years of age, in the South Bronx in New York, and one day they looked at me and they said, hey, you've got us doing all these writing activities and we're going to zoos and it's really cool, but can we just hang out with you? So I said, sure, what do you want to do? And they said, hey, there's a park across the street. Can we just go there and hang out? So we got there. And, me being a graduate school student at the time, I thought this was a great opportunity to collect data. So I looked at the youth and I said, hey, look around the park. Tell me what you see. And, so they started to, point to trees and talk about the benefit of those trees. But they also did this pivot. And they said, hey, they used to call me Mr. Jason. And said, Mr. Jason, look at this pond over here. There's, plastic bags floating there. Clearly, people have been dumping things in this pond, and it's dangerous for the animals that go there.
Yeah.
But then there was a switch amongst many of the children I was working with in this project. And they said, you know what? It's not safe for animals here, but it's not safe for us either. We don't feel safe coming to these parks with our families. And we believe that we should have safe spaces, parks and places to play within our community. And it was in that moment that I realized that I was probably going in the not necessarily the wrong direction, but in a direction that wasn't quite my calling. And as soon as I heard those young people say, we want safe places to play in our communities, it changed my research trajectory for my entire career and landed me here at UCI.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I joined the crew.
Hearing you talk, Doug, just made me think about that story, and I was like, "That's the story I want to tell."
What you said inspired me, so we're even now.
So,
and you ended up at UCI is almost how I ended up here too. So that's kind of crazy.
yeah, fantastic. So you can use some of the BTI stuff. You can use some of the, children and zoo stuff, whatever you're interested in.
All right, should we cut?
So
Let's cut.
does this account as individual interview?
Pardon me?
Do you think it's enough content to be the individual interview?
I have no idea.
Because
I
it's
think
pretty
so.
good.
I think we got enough.
Yeah.
What are you looking for the individual?
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what we were
I
looking
would-
for.
We
So,
can
Yeah.
dig in more, whatever.
I'd still like to
See,
speak
it's
with
very
people.
This is one of the
Yeah.
B-roll.
Yeah.